Hello, LITA members, librarians, library types, and assorted tech folks. This is Begin Transmission, an original web series produced by the LITA blog. Each episode features a lively conversation and the opportunity to learn something new. I'm your host, Lindsay Cronk. Behind me is David Bowie, and today we are joined by my fellow LITA blogger and Associate Dean of Libraries at Oklahoma State University, Cinthya Ippoliti. Cinthya, how can we learn from your wisdom and rise through the ranks in libraries? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started working, in the field.
Sure. Great. And I don't know how much wisdom I have, but here we go. I'll do my best. So I actually started working in libraries when I was an undergraduate in college. I started doing, if you can believe this, retroconversion for serial government documents. So
no way, you were GovDocs.
Yes. So that was a fun experience, and I thought to myself, there's no way I'm ever going to do this again. This is crazy. But it was actually one of the staff members that I worked with who said, you would be great as a librarian. And again, I thought, I don't know about that. But then the more I looked into library school and some of the opportunities that you have, to work with information and really think about all the different ways you can use it. And of course, at the time, we didn't have this emphasis on technology quite as much. The more it sounded really interesting, and then I decided to go for it and enroll in library school, and I haven't looked back since. And so actually all my experience has been in academic libraries, and it was all on the public services side. So I think the government doc thing scared me away from anything else. But I've basically been involved with just basic public services with reference and a lot of instruction. And then most recently, when I was at the University of Maryland, I was in charge of the Learning Commons. And that's where I really kind of got into the whole, technology and how can it be applied to the curriculum and learning and kind of some of these applications. And now here at Oklahoma State University, I'm really lucky and that I get to do this at even a broader level and be able to work with different campus partners and try to bring them into the fold. So that's kind of the short version of a long journey. Yes.
How long, do you mind if I ask, how long have you been in libraries? What's that span of time?
For about 15 years. So I kind of went straight from undergrad directly to grad school. And so, yes. So for pretty much my whole career.
Yeah, young librarians, getting out there, I think there's a lot of frustration around coming out of library school. It's not, the most forgiving job market. So I think it's helpful to have in mind that even if you're on it right out of college, right, it's a 15-year, it's a process, and
definitely
very beneficial to hear more about what you've been doing. Is there a technology tool or app that you use a lot in sort of your public services work that you'd like to share with the audience today, or anything you're excited about?
Sure. And these are actually really not that exciting, but they're so useful. So I'm a huge fan of Dropbox and Google Docs. And up until recently, I wasn't quite sold on Google Docs because of some of the functionality. But honestly, just the capability to collaborate at a distance and be able to edit things together synchronously or asynchronously, I have found these two to be the most useful tools. And I know they're not very exciting, but they're so useful, and they help keep me organized, and I love them, and I've used them, in various national committees I'm on, and just my day-to-day file keeping and sort of like all this other stuff. So not exciting, but very good.
Super useful, and that tends to be my sort of metric for how I assess all of these things as well. I like to know that there's going to be a place for it in my workflow, and that's where I think Google Docs just plays that perfect role in any sort of collaborative piece that you have to do.
Exactly.
Nothing I've ever found like SharePoint just doesn't let everyone edit at once. I love even being able to see people typing in Google Docs. I find it so invigorating.
No, the learning curve is so small and minimal,
Yes.
Even something like SharePoint takes forever to try to figure out how to learn and how it works. And so, it's like easy, simple, and it keeps me organized, which is like super important. So
totally agree. Is there anything new on the horizon in libraries though, or in sort of the personal organization space that excites you? Any new technologies? I know I'm really excited about potentially applying sensors to my collection management strategy, seeing how people are using the physical space.
Wow, that sounds really cool.
I know. It's Jason Griffey's Measure the Future project.
Okay.
And he's like moved on to other things as well, but it's a super cool initiative where you can sort of get analytics on your physical space.
Wow, that's actually really cool. I might look into that.
I'll totally post a link.
Some of the things that I've been looking at are, and again, I haven't really thought much about how they would apply in kind of, the academic setting, but are things like holographic tools and resources, right? So, I mean, just the potential to be able to say, okay, you can actually have a virtual version of me around, or create some kind of a model that you can literally walk into or be a part of. And I think it's those things like, so I think virtual reality is great. It's kind of that whole area, and I know they're not quite the same thing, but it's sort of that immersive environment. That
augmented reality.
Exactly, that you're not just, doing something, but you're now part of a completely different space that you normally would never be a part of, like maybe inside the human body or some location like a building or something. So that's some of the stuff that I've been looking into, and I'm really excited to see the possibilities for applications with student learning and even just faculty research.
Definitely. So, you came out of this GovDocs sort of funky like student position, and you found your footing in the professional world. Is there any, skill, tech, or otherwise that you'd suggest for, younger librarians, fresh librarians, people just entering the field, technology folks looking to cross over, that you think is useful?
Yeah, definitely. So it's been kind of sort of two parallel streams that I've investigated quite a bit, and I've tried to sort of incorporate into what I do and kind of like daily workflows. So I think the first thing, and neither of these are technically technology related, but the one is entrepreneurial thinking. So I think the more we can focus on things like, create a quick prototype, do a quick, needs assessment, do a prototype, fail. If you're going to fail quickly,
and
then decide how to scale it up, and not worry so much about creating a perfect committee or a perfect prototype or model, because sort of the reality we live in nowadays is you just won't have time, and nothing will ever get done. And so I'm a huge fan of try it out, see what happens, and you know what, chances are the world will not come to an end if it doesn't go right. Right? It's like, just try it out. So I'm a huge fan of that. And then the second thing, and I've really explored quite a bit of this in my own professional development as well, is design thinking. So again, is really thinking about, how do you empathize with the user and their end need, and then how do you design a product or an experience or whatever that they might use, and then test it out. So it's kind of similar. It goes hand in hand, I think, with sort of that entrepreneurial kind of angle. And we've done this kind of model in library instruction, so it has a great time with information literacy as an iterative process. You could do this with service prototyping and service design. So I think it just has like so many applications. And so I think that's kind of the thing, is don't sort of be bound by, kind of more traditional ways of doing things, and think of these other ways of trying things out. And I've had quite a bit of success with kind of some of these two models.
I totally agree. And getting over my own fear of failure, was so huge for opening my mind to more possibilities. When you're coming at it from a place of being too cautious or too fearful, you limit the way that you think and approach problem solving. So I agree, Cinthya, those are very good recommendations. In terms of, I know we can look at the LITA blog and we can read some of your awesome blog posts. Was there any place you'd also like us to be looking for your work? Twitter, Facebook? Do you have a website you'd like to share with the audience today?
Yeah, and I can send you the URL separately. I don't have it memorized, but it's the Research and Learning Services website on the Oklahoma State University libraries. That's kind of where a lot of our initiatives are happening. And that's where you get to read about some of the projects and the partnership we're initiating. And so I think that's probably the best. I was going to say the LITA blog. So.
Well, don't worry, we're going to link to that as well. So I'll make sure that people know to look for you there. Your blog posts are always really inspiring, and I think have a really interesting perspective.
Great. Well, thank you. So I'd say that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. It's been wonderful spending a little bit of time with you today, Cinthya. Always a pleasure to collaborate on the blog as well. Have a great day, and thank you as well, audience members. We appreciate that you tuned in.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.